This might come as a total surprise to you, but you really don't need a professional photo studio or a lot of expensive gear to create beautiful cinematic portraits. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 creative but super easy lighting techniques for professional looking portraits that look like stills from a movie. We're only going to be using window light, so natural light, and or very minimal artificial lighting. So this is really super accessible and you can easily recreate it at home. So let's get started. Okay, so the first technique I want to share with you is natural light from a window in the morning or afternoon. Now I love this light so much. It is so easy to create. All you need is a window, and this kind of lighting is very timeless. It actually recreates the look of a classical painting, and it creates a really beautiful glow and gorgeous skin, so you won't have to retouch your portraits hardly at all. So you can see me here setting up for this shot. For this kind of lighting, you definitely want to avoid direct sunlight because that will give you very harsh and hard shadows. Instead, you want the light to be very even and soft. So it's best to shoot either during the morning or in the afternoon. Or alternatively, you can actually shoot on a cloudy day where of course you don't have any direct sunlight. And then for your model placement, ask your subject to sit or stand at a 45-degree angle to the window. This will give you way more contrast, of course, because only one side of the face is lit and the other side of the face will be in the shadow. And this creates more dimension, more depth, and therefore a more cinematic look. Okay, and here's the final image. Have a look how soft and flattering the light is. It really looks almost like a painting, and I love the contrast here between light and dark. Great, so let's move on to the second technique I want to share with you, and that's using window blinds or plants or any other object to create light patterns. This is another really classic one, and it will give you a very cinematic look. So in my case, I was staying in this incredible Airbnb, which had those beautiful window blinds. So of course I had to use those. If you don't have something like this in your space, no worries. You can, for example, use a piece of cardboard and cut lots of slits into it at an even distance, and then place that between your light source and your model, and that will also create a similar shadow pattern. Another option would be to use plants or tree leaves, anything like that, or even if you have a piece of lace fabric or a similar fabric, that can also give you beautiful shadow patterns. Now, for this effect to work really well, it's best to shoot on a sunny day because that will make the shadows much harder and more contrasty. And it also works better if you shoot either in the morning or in the afternoon. Now for the final image, let me first share the file in color. This is how I originally shot it. You can see how the shadows really add depth to the image and make it look quite cinematic. However, what I love doing for these kind of images is to actually convert them to black and white. You can see this really enhances the contrast and actually puts the emphasis even more on the beautiful patterns. And I think it also contributes to the cinematic effect in this image. Now, before I continue to the next lighting setup, just a reminder that it would be super helpful if you subscribe to my channel. It would really help me a lot and enable me to create even more content for you. Thank you, and back to the video. Now, for the next cinematic lighting technique, I've chosen backlighting / silhouette lighting. Okay, so let's talk about backlighting. In this shoot, I actually used this beautiful window here, and I placed myself right in front of the window with the light source behind me, essentially. This kind of lighting is really amazing if you want to create a sort of sentimental or even mysterious effect. And to get that really strong silhouette effect, it's best to expose for the background rather than the subject, because that will give you that very dark and dramatic look. So let me show you the final image I took with this kind of lighting. You can see here that my face is actually very dark, because I turned it away from the light, and then some other parts of my body are actually hit by a bit of light, and I really think it makes it look more like a movie still than an actual photograph. Now, before I show you lighting setup number 4, let me just share something with you. I've actually recently created this 7-day portrait photography challenge. It's an email challenge. You get a different prompt every day over 7 days, and it helps you to master cinematic portrait lighting. If you want to sign up, I'm going to link it down below. And now back to the video. Okay, then lighting technique number 4. This is the first one where we're using an artificial light source, and that would be any kind of household lamp you have at home. Again, this setup, it really couldn't be easier. All you need is some kind of small light source. So it could be a reading lamp, a desk lamp, even fairy lights, or even actually the screen from a laptop or from a TV. This kind of lighting is really amazing for super intimate, moody portraits. I'm going to show you an example. Again, I used this little lamp here, and then I kept the rest of the room totally dark. Now for this kind of lighting to work, you do need to use a higher ISO. Of course, with the ISO, try to keep it still as low as you can so you don't get too much noise in the picture. And ideally the largest aperture you have. So if you do have a prime lens, for example, 50 millimeters, that would be the better choice here because they will usually have larger apertures than zoom lenses. And it's also a really good idea here to use a tripod because then you can use a slightly slower shutter speed, which will also of course let in more light. Okay, so here is the final image I took with this kind of lighting. I mean, again, this is so easy. You don't need any gear at all. You just need a small lamp and you get really cinematic, atmospheric portraits that can be super impactful. Okay, and now onto the very last lighting setup for cinematic portraits. This is actually the only one where you need a little bit of gear. So I used this LED panel. As you can see, it's very small and they're really not expensive at all. I'm also going to link this in the description. They're actually pretty powerful. Let me actually show you. I'm just going to turn it on. So you can see that they create quite a lot of light, so it might be worth investing in one of those. So for the cinematic lighting with this kind of LED panel, it's best to keep the light a little bit to the side of the model because that will create more shadows on the face and on the skin and therefore more depth in the photo. Now another thing that's great about LED panels like this is they don't heat up, compared to say a normal light bulb. So you could also drape a piece of colored fabric over them to create a colored light. Or if you want to go really pro, you could even buy these kind of colored sheets of plastic called colored gels. I'm also going to link those. Just a quick example to show you. So if you place those in between the light source and the model, you get these kind of color casts that are pretty cool for cinematic portraits. Now here's my final image with the LED panel. You can see that this very tiny light essentially really transforms the mood of the shot and it really looks like a movie still. That's it for today. Again, make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, and see you next time. Bye!